Welcome back to the Rebel Podcast. I'm Radio's Rebel DJ Style, joined as always on the board by Jules.
Hi.
And two special guests for this very October conspiracy theory episode. First from CBW Productions and Of Mics and Men, Sean B.
How you doing, guys? Thank you for having me back.
Welcome back. And from WMS, Corey Rotic.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. We're
How you
talking
guys
about
doing?
one of my favorite subjects today. How could I miss this?
I know how much of a Beatles fan you are. Almost as big as me.
I'm a diehard. I really am.
Really.
I hope they die a lot
And hard.
and hard.
Well, three of them might be out of the way. And I say three because, of course, we're talking about Paul is dead today. What do you guys know about Paul is dead?
I cheered. And then I found out that it was a conspiracy theory and not a headline. So I'm along for the ride. I'm here to figure out what my wildest dreams may look like.
So you haven't heard anything about this yet?
Very little, not enough to like put a whole lot into place as far as, well, this is why they did this. Why do they do half the things they do? Because of the fucking Beatles and whatever. They think they're all cheeky, if you will.
There's a huge kind of like just history with the Beatles to begin with. So to have to dissect this even is just so like ridiculous to find out all about this.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I almost want to trust it, like something is going on there, because they're the fucking Beatles, dude. Like, they couldn't walk to their mailboxes without being stampeded.
That's true.
I bet you these guys couldn't go to the bathroom without having 6 people follow them. So yeah, of course you're going to try to get away with something that you can't, right? I'm thinking that there might be, where there's smoke, there's fire, as they say.
So let's get into this a little bit here. The theory goes that Paul died in 1966 after a recording dispute between himself and George Harrison, and Paul drove away angrily and got killed in a car crash. George Harrison and the rest of the Beatles would figure out about this later on that evening, and in order to avoid mass hysteria and Capitol Records was afraid of mass suicide outbreaks because of beatlemania, that they would instead hide the death and replace Paul with a winner of a Paul McCartney lookalike contest in Billy Shears. Sgt. Pepper's and Abbey Road, the first two albums to separate Paul and Fall, as he's known, Billy Shears, the replacement Paul McCartney, and the albums tell the story here, really. Abbey Road, obviously synonymous with the Beatles, the imagery there, and as it goes, Paul McCartney's not wearing shoes, so he must be dead. John dressed in all white, looking very Christ-like, as it says, so he is supposed to be the figure of Christ, obviously. Ringo follows him dressed as an undertaker in all black, traditional trench coat. You have Paul with no shoes, smoking in his right hand. The no shoes signify the dead body. He's dressed in very traditional, just black suit, shit like that. And then taking up the rear,
Yes, he does.
George Harrison always taking up the rear, in full denim gear, leaving last in the funeral procession as a gravedigger would do.
Yeah.
Why does he have to do all the heavy lifting?
Because it's George.
Like, I'm not looking at pictures or albums or anything, but then when you start pointing out, oh, this is them looking over Paul's casket, or on what was it, Sgt. Pepper, it says like R.I.P. and it's them at like Paul's funeral. It does kind of look a little suspicious.
Yeah, so let's break that down a little bit. Sgt. Pepper's, obviously the album that's mostly associated with the Paul is dead theory. It features the Beatles along with a cast and crew of celebrities, political figures, you name it, in the background, a lot of dead people. And as well as the former Beatles, quote unquote. You have the original 60s style black suit Beatles standing next to these new iteration of the Beatles, which just seemed to so nicely coincide with Paul McCartney being quote unquote replaced. All of them holding these brass instruments, except for Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney holds a black instrument. All of them face towards Paul, looking at this open grave, essentially, with flowers on it that says the Beatles, featuring a left-handed guitar, obviously Paul being the only left-handed Beatle. And associated with that as well, we have the hand, open palm above Paul's head in the picture, which in many ideologies associates with one's passing. So we have all these different things working together in this album cover, saying, hey, I'm going to take all these and put them together and say Paul is dead now.
Yeah, if Paul isn't dead, then they just got really lucky with how many there's little intricacies and little tricks and tips that there are.
So if you haven't seen the album cover, we described it a little bit there, but there is a bass drum that sits right in front of the Beatles, and it has, I believe it just says Sgt. Pepper's on it, on the head. If you hold a mirror...
The part that they're reflecting, it says Lonely Hearts.
Oh, Lonely Hearts, my bad. It says Lonely Hearts across the bass drum. If you put a mirror halfway across the Lonely Hearts lettering, though, it says 1-1 IX, he die, which obviously 1-1. We're going to go with November, the 11th month. IX being 9th day, and he die, meaning that Paul McCartney died on
November 9th.
November 9th, 1966.
Along with the arrow in between he and die pointing straight to Paul McCartney.
Yes. If you flip over the album, the Beatles once again on the back of it, all of them facing forward, except for, of course, Paul McCartney turned away.
Always got to be different.
Always got to be different. Always got to be left out with Paul. And George Harrison points to a lyric that reads, Wednesday morning, 5 o'clock, November 9th, 1966 did fall on a Wednesday morning.
No.
So Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock is supposedly the time that Paul McCartney, the original Paul McCartney, got into this car crash.
That's so sketchy, too.
Right?
What a cool song, though. God damn it. Now, see, I talked all that trash, and I'm thinking She's Leaving Home. Like, that's not bad.